The Galactic Olympics Incident. The vast expanse of space twinkled with countless stars, but none shone as brightly as the artificial sun illuminating the cosmic Colosseum. This marvel of engineering, a space station large enough to house multiple stadiums and arenas, orbited a neutral planet in the Andromeda Galaxy. It was here that the 1000th Galactic Olympics were set to take place, an event that brought together species from across the known universe. Zaxlor, a Xentorian reporter with iridescent scales and multifaceted eyes, hovered near the main entrance, his anti-gravity device humming softly. He watched as delegates from hundreds of worlds filed into the enormous structure, each species more bizarre than the last. There were the gaseous nebulans, contained within shimmering force fields, the crystalline silicoids, their bodies refracting light in dazzling patterns, and the amorphous proteins, who seemed to change shape with each passing moment. But it was the arrival of the human delegation that caught Zaxlor's attention. The Earthlings, as they called themselves, were newcomers to the galactic stage. Their homeworld, a seemingly unremarkable planet in the Milky Way, had only achieved faster-than-light travel a few decades ago. Yet already, they had made quite an impression. "Excuse me," Zaxlor called out, his translator device converting his harmonic whistles into standard galactic common. Zaxlor from the Cosmic Chronicle. "Might I have a word with the human representative?" A tall, dark-skinned woman with close-cropped hair stepped forward, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo, lead scientist for the Earth Olympic Committee. "How can I help you?" Zaxlor's recording device hummed to life. "Dr. Okonkwo, this is humanity's first time participating in the Galactic Olympics. What events will Earth be competing in?" The human's lips curved into what Zaxlor recognized as a smile. "Well, we're excited to showcase some of our traditional Earth sports. We'll be demonstrating events like parkour, ice hockey, and competitive eating." Zaxlor's scales shimmered in confusion. "I'm not familiar with these terms. Could you elaborate?" "Of course," Dr. Okonkwo nodded. "Parkour is a form of urban acrobatics, where participants navigate complex environments by running, jumping, and climbing. Ice hockey is a team sport played on frozen water, where players use sticks to hit a small object into a goal. And competitive eating, well, it's a contest to see who can consume the most food in a set time." Zaxlor's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly, trying to process this information. "But these activities sound incredibly dangerous. Acrobatics in urban environments, playing on frozen water, consuming excessive amounts of biomatter. Are these not considered hazardous on your world?" Dr. Okonkwo chuckled. "Oh, they can be risky, sure. But that's part of the appeal. Humans have always pushed boundaries, tested our limits. It's how we grow, how we evolve." Before Zaxlor could ask more questions, a commotion near the main arena caught their attention. A group of arachnoids, 8-legged beings with exoskeletons, were gathered around a human demonstrating parkour techniques. "Looks like the show's starting early," Dr. Okonkwo said with a grin. "Care to join us?" Zaxlor followed, his curiosity overriding his bewilderment. They entered the arena to find an elaborate obstacle course set up, with walls, pipes, and platforms of varying heights and distances. The human demonstrator, a lithe man introduced as Alex Chen, began his routine. He sprinted towards a wall, defying gravity as he ran up its surface, grasped the top edge, and vaulted over. He leaped between platforms, rolled under barriers, and performed flips that seemed to laugh in the face of physics. The alien spectators watched in stunned silence. Then, surprisingly, a young arachnoid stepped forward. Can I try?" It chittered hesitantly. Alex beamed. "Absolutely. Let's start with something simple. See that low wall there? Try running up it and grabbing the edge." The arachnoid approached the wall, its 8 legs moving in perfect synchronization. It began to run up the vertical surface, using its natural climbing abilities. However, unused to the concept of vaulting, it simply clung to the top of the wall, unsure of what to do next. "Great start," Alex encouraged. "Now, use your momentum to swing your body over. Your extra limbs should give you an advantage here." After a few attempts, the arachnoid managed a somewhat awkward but successful vault. A cheer went up from the growing crowd of spectators. Inspired by this, other alien species began to approach the course, each trying to adapt the parkour techniques to their unique physiologies. The Nebulans found they could simply float over obstacles, but struggled with the concept of using surfaces to change direction. The silicoids discovered their crystalline bodies were excellent for gripping surfaces, but had to be careful not to shatter on impact. As Zaxlor watched, he noticed something extraordinary happening. The humans weren't just demonstrating their sport. They were actively encouraging and teaching the other species, offering suggestions and modifications based on each alien's abilities. "Dr. Okonkwo," Zaxlor said, his voice filled with wonder, "I've never seen anything like this. These sports of yours, they're not just games, are they?" The scientist's eyes twinkled. "Games? Oh, they're much more than that. They're how we challenge ourselves, how we learn to overcome obstacles. In a way, every sport we play is a simulation of survival skills." As if to punctuate her words, Aprochian attempted a complex flip, miscalculated, and began to fall from a high platform. Without hesitation, Alex sprinted forward, positioned himself, and caught the amorphous being, his body absorbing the impact. "You okay?" Alex asked, setting the Protean down gently. The alien's body rippled in what seemed to be a nod. "Thank you," it burbled. How did you react so quickly?" Alex shrugged. "Training. In parkour, we learn to assess risks, make split-second decisions, and yes, how to fall safely and help others if things go wrong." Zaxlor's recording device was working overtime, capturing every moment of this unprecedented event. What had started as a simple demonstration was turning into something much more significant. As the impromptu parkour session continued, news spread throughout the cosmic coliseum. Aliens of all species began to flood into the arena, eager to witness and participate in this strange human activity. In one corner, a group of silicoids were learning to use their crystalline structures to create improvised ramps and launches. Nearby, a team of Nebulans had turned a section of the course into a zero-gravity playground, using their gaseous forms to create currents and eddies for others to navigate. Dr. Okonkwo stood beside Zaxlor, watching the organized chaos with a mixture of pride and amusement. "You know," she said, "when we decided to showcase our sports at the Galactic Olympics, we never imagined it would turn out like this." Zaxlor turned to her, his scales shimmering with excitement. "Dr. Okonkwo, I believe we're witnessing something truly revolutionary here. These sports of yours, they're not just physical activities, are they? They're a form of interspecies communication, a way to bridge the gap between wildly different physiologies and thought processes." The human scientist nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You're right. Sports have always been a universal language on Earth, a way to bring people together despite cultural differences. I suppose it's not so different on a galactic scale." As they spoke, a commotion near the entrance caught their attention. A delegation of Galactic Olympic officials had arrived, their faces or equivalent sensory organs showing a mix of shock, concern, and fascination. "What is the meaning of this?" boomed the lead official, a towering graviton whose body seemed to bend the light around it. "This is not a scheduled event." Alex, who had been helping a group of arachnoids refine their wall-running technique, approached the officials with an easy smile. "Sorry about that, sir. We were just giving a little demonstration of parkour, and well, things kind of took off from there." The graviton official looked around the arena, taking in the sight of dozens of alien species engaged in activities that surely violated numerous safety protocols. This is highly irregular. The Galactic Olympics have strict rules and schedules. We cannot allow unsanctioned events to." He trailed off as a young Nebulan floated up to him, its gaseous form shimmering with excitement. "Please, sir," it whistled, its translator conveying its enthusiasm. "You must allow this to continue. I've never felt so alive, so connected to my body and the space around me. And look." The Nebulon gestured to where a group of silicoids and proteins were collaborating on a complex obstacle, combining their unique physiologies to create a challenge that would test the abilities of multiple species. "This is more than just a game," the Nebulon continued. It's a whole new way of thinking about movement, about cooperation, about pushing our limits." The Graviton official seemed to deflate slightly, his stern demeanor softening. I suppose we could classify this as a cultural exchange event. Those are permitted under Galactic Olympic bylaws." A cheer went up from the assembled aliens, a cacophony of sounds that somehow blended into a harmonious expression of joy. As the official moved away to consult with his colleagues, Dr. Okonkwo turned to Zaxlor, her eyes shining. "You know, I think we might have stumbled onto something big here. Something that could change the way species interact across the galaxy." Zaxlor nodded, his reporter's instincts tingling. "Indeed, Dr. Okonkwo. I believe we're witnessing the birth of a new era in interspecies relations, and it all started with a simple game." As they watched, Alex gathered a diverse group of aliens, each with wildly different physiologies and abilities. "All right, everyone," he called out, his voice filled with excitement. "Let's see if we can create an obstacle course that challenges each of our unique strengths. Who's ready to push some boundaries?" The enthusiastic response echoed through the cosmic coliseum, marking the beginning of what would soon be known across the galaxy as the Great Sports Revolution. Little did they know, this was just the first step in a journey that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. Humans as unwitting mentors. As news of the impromptu Parker demonstration spread throughout the cosmic coliseum, excitement and curiosity rippled through the alien delegations. What had started as a simple showcase of human athletic ability had evolved into an unprecedented interspecies collaboration. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Alien diplomats, scientists, and athletes from across the galaxy approached her, eager to learn more about Earth's other sports. "Dr. Okonkwo," chirped a Lepidopteran ambassador, its gossamer wings shimmering with iridescent patterns, "we've heard rumors of a human sport played on frozen water. Is this true?" Aisha smiled, still amazed by the level of interest. "Yes, it's called ice hockey. It's a team sport that requires speed, strategy, and a bit of controlled aggression." The Lepidopteran's antennae quivered with excitement. "Fascinating. Might we be able to witness a demonstration?" Before Aisha could respond, a gruff voice cut through the chatter. "Now hold on just a minute." The crowd parted to reveal Coach Gunnar Eriksson, the burly leader of the human ice hockey team. His craggy face was set in a scowl, but there was a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. "Ice hockey isn't some circus act," Gunnar growled. "It's a serious sport with rules, strategies, and years of tradition behind it. You can't just—" He trailed off as he noticed the eager faces of the aliens around him. Even the silicoids, beings made of living crystal, seemed to be leaning forward in anticipation. Aisha stepped in smoothly. "Coach Eriksson, I understand your concerns, but consider this. We have a unique opportunity here to share our culture, our passion, with beings from across the galaxy. Isn't that what sports are all about? Bringing people together." Gunnar's frown deepened for a moment, then slowly transformed into a grudging smile. All right. But we do this properly. We'll need to set up a rink, get proper equipment." "I believe we can help with that," interjected a melodious voice. A cryogen, a being composed of living ice, glided forward. "Our species can create and maintain frozen surfaces with ease. If you provide the specifications, we can have a rink ready within hours." And so, as the parkour demonstrations continued in one part of the Colosseum, another section was quickly transformed into an impromptu ice hockey arena. The cryogons worked tirelessly, their bodies radiating cold as they formed a perfect sheet of ice. Meanwhile, the human engineers collaborated with alien artisans to create modified hockey equipment suitable for a variety of physiologies. As news of the impending ice hockey demonstration spread, aliens of all species flocked to the newly created rink. The stands, hastily constructed by a team of industrious constructabots, were soon packed with a diverse array of galactic spectators. Coach Erickson stood at the center of the rink, his voice booming through the translator devices. "All right, listen up. Ice hockey is a game of skill, strategy, and teamwork. Two teams compete to score goals by shooting a puck into the opposing team's net. But first, you need to learn how to skate." What followed was a scene that would have been unimaginable just days before. Aliens of all shapes and sizes took to the ice, each adapting to the slippery surface in their own unique way. The arachnoids, with their 8 legs, found they had excellent balance and maneuverability. The nebulons struggled at first, their gaseous forms dissipating on contact with the ice, until they learned to condense themselves into more solid shapes. The silicoids, to everyone's surprise, excelled on the ice. Their crystalline bodies, it turned out, could form perfect edges for skating, and they glided across the rink with graceful ease. As the aliens began to grasp the basics of skating, Coach Erickson introduced sticks and pucks. The lepidopterans, with their delicate wings, initially struggled with the physical nature of the sport. However, they soon discovered that their ability to hover slightly above the ice gave them a unique advantage in puck handling. Dr. Okonkwo watched from the sidelines, her eyes wide with wonder. Beside her, Zaxlor was frantically recording every moment, his multifaceted eyes darting from one extraordinary scene to another. "This is unprecedented," Zaxlor whistled excitedly. "Never in galactic history have we seen such rapid adoption and adaptation of an alien sport. Dr. Okonkwo, do you realize what this means?" Aisha nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I think I'm beginning to. These sports, they're more than just games. They're a way for different species to understand each other on a fundamental level. Through these physical challenges, we're learning about each other's strengths, limitations, and ways of thinking." As if to illustrate her point, a friendly match had broken out on the ice. A mixed team of humans, silicoids, and arachnoids faced off against a squad of lepidopterans, nebulons, and cryogens. The game bore only a passing resemblance to traditional ice hockey, but the spirit of competition and cooperation was undeniable. The silicoids used their crystalline bodies to create impromptu barriers, redirecting the puck with precision. The arachnoids skittered across the ice at incredible speeds, their multiple limbs allowing them to handle the puck in ways no human could match. On the other side, the lepidopterans hovered just above the surface, using their wings to create gusts of wind that influenced the puck's trajectory. As the match progressed, something remarkable happened. The players began to anticipate each other's moves, to understand the unique strengths and limitations of their teammates and opponents. Strategies emerged that took advantage of each species' abilities, creating a game that was at once familiar and entirely new. From the stands came a cacophony of cheers, whistles, and other alien vocalizations. Species that had been wary of each other just hours before were now enthusiastically supporting mixed teams, finding common ground in the shared experience of sport. Coach Erickson skated over to where Aisha and Zaxlor stood, his gruff exterior softened by a look of amazement. "In all my years of coaching," he said, shaking his head in wonder, "I've never seen anything like this. These aliens, they're picking up in hours what takes human players years to master. And the way they're adapting the game, it's like they're reinventing hockey before our eyes." Aisha smiled. "They're not just learning the game, Coach. They're learning about each other, about cooperation, strategy, and pushing their limits. In a way, they're learning what it means to be human." Zaxlor's scales shimmered with excitement, and humans are learning what it means to be, well, alien. This exchange goes both ways. Your species is gaining insights into alien physiologies and thought processes that would have taken years of diplomatic missions to achieve. As they spoke, a commotion near the entrance to the ice rink caught their attention. A delegation of high-ranking Galactic Council members had arrived, their expressions a mix of concern and fascination. The lead counselor, a towering cerebrax with a bulbous head housing its massive brain, floated towards them. Dr. Okonkwo, Coach Erickson, it intoned, its voice resonating directly in their minds. We've been observing these demonstrations. While we appreciate the spirit of cultural exchange, we have concerns about the safety and propriety of these activities. Aisha stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. Counselor, I understand your concerns, but look around you. What do you see? The cerebrax's multiple eyes swiveled, taking in the scene. Aliens of various species were helping each other up after falls, offering tips and encouragement. The air was filled with laughter and excited chatter in a dozen different languages. I see. Cooperation, the cerebrax admitted. Interspecies collaboration on a scale we've rarely witnessed. Coach Erickson nodded gruffly. Sports have a way of bringing people together. Doesn't matter if you've got 2 legs, 8 legs, or no legs at all. Out there on the ice, everyone's equal. Everyone's part of the team. As if on cue, a great cheer went up from the rink. The mixed team had just scored a goal, the puck sailing into the net after a complex play involving a human, a silicoid, and a lepidopterian working in perfect harmony. The rise of interspecies sports. As the Galactic Olympics progressed, the impromptu demonstrations of human sports evolved into something far more significant. What had started as simple showcases of parkour and ice hockey had sparked a galaxy-wide phenomenon. Aliens from every corner of the known universe were not just learning human sports, but adapting them to create entirely new forms of physical and mental competition. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo found herself at the center of this sporting revolution. Her expertise was in constant demand, as species after species sought to understand and implement human athletic concepts. Today, she stood before a massive holographic display in the Cosmic Coliseum's central arena, addressing a diverse audience of alien delegates. What we're witnessing, Aisha began, her voice carrying through thousands of translation devices, is not just cultural exchange. It's the birth of a new form of galactic communication and cooperation. The holographic display behind her flickered to life, showing scenes from various parts of the Colosseum. In one area, a group of arachnoids and lepidopterians were engaged in a modified version of basketball. The arachnoids used their multiple limbs to dribble and pass with incredible dexterity, while the lepidopterians fluttered above, using their wings to create air currents that affected the ball's trajectory. As you can see, Aisha continued, gesturing to the display, each species brings its unique physiology and capabilities to these sports. But more importantly, they're learning to work together, to understand and complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. The scene shifted to an underwater arena, where humans in high-tech diving suits were competing alongside aquatic species in a 3-dimensional version of water polo. The ball, a bioluminescent sphere, pulsed with different colors to indicate possession and scoring. This adaptive water polo, Aisha explained, was developed by a collaboration between human athletes and the cetaceans of Aquarius IV. It's a perfect example of how sports can bridge the gap between radically different environments and physiologies. As Aisha spoke, Zaxlor hovered nearby, his recording device capturing every moment. The Zentorian reporter had become the chronicler of this unprecedented event, his reports eagerly consumed across the galaxy. Dr. Okonkwo, Zaxlor interjected, his scales shimmering with excitement. We're receiving reports of similar phenomena occurring on other worlds. It seems news of these interspecies sports has spread beyond the Olympics. How do you think this will affect galactic society? Aisha's eyes lit up at the question. That's the most exciting part, Zaxlor. These sports are more than just games. They're a new form of diplomacy, a way for different species to understand each other on a fundamental level. We're seeing barriers break down, prejudices dissolve, as beings from across the galaxy come together in the spirit of friendly competition. The holographic display shifted again, this time showing a vast zero-gravity chamber. Here, a complex game was unfolding that seemed to combine elements of chess, three-dimensional strategy, and physical prowess. Nebulans, humans in spacesuits, and various other species maneuvered through the space, their movements dictated by rules that seemed to change dynamically. This, Aisha said, her voice filled with wonder, is perhaps the most ambitious project yet. It's called Cosmic Confluence, a game designed to incorporate the mental and physical abilities of as many species as possible. It's still in development, but already it's pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible in competitive sports. As the audience watched in fascination, a commotion near the entrance caught everyone's attention. A delegation of synthesians, a species of sentient artificial intelligences, had arrived. Their sleek metallic bodies gleamed under the Coliseum's lights as they approached the central platform. The lead synthesian, its voice a harmonious blend of electronic tones, addressed the gathering. Esteemed delegates, we have been observing these sports with great interest. While we lack biological bodies, we believe our computational abilities and virtual environments could add a new dimension to these activities. We propose a collaboration to develop sports that bridge the gap between organic and artificial life forms. A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd. The inclusion of AI species in physical sports had never been considered before. It opened up entirely new possibilities for competition and cooperation. Aisha stepped forward, her face beaming with enthusiasm. This is exactly the kind of innovation we've been hoping for. The integration of AI into our sporting events could revolutionize not just athletics, but our very understanding of competition and teamwork. As discussions broke out among the delegates, Coach Gunnar Eriksson made his way to Aisha's side, his gruff exterior softened by a look of amazement. "When I agreed to demonstrate ice hockey," he said, shaking his head, "I never imagined it would lead to all this. We're not just changing sports, Doc. We're changing the galaxy." Aisha nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You're right, Coach. And I think we're only beginning to understand the implications. These sports are becoming a universal language, a way for species that might never have communicated before to find common ground." As if to illustrate her point, a friendly dispute had broken out near one of the game areas. A silicoid and a protean were engaged in an animated discussion about the rules of their newly invented game. Despite their radically different physiologies and modes of communication, they were finding ways to understand each other, gesturing with crystalline limbs and amorphous pseudopods. Zaxlor, who had been recording the exchange, turned to Aisha with a question. "Dr. Okonkwo, we've seen how these sports are bringing species together. But are there any concerns? Any potential drawbacks to this rapid adoption of human-inspired activities?" Aisha's expression grew serious. "That's an important question, Zaxlor. While the benefits are clear, we do need to be mindful of unintended consequences. There's a risk of cultural homogenization, of losing unique traditions in the rush to adopt these new sports. We need to ensure that we're not just exporting human culture, but creating something truly universal." As she spoke, the holographic display shifted once more, showing scenes from across the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings of all descriptions were gathering to watch and participate in these new interspecies sports. In city squares, wilderness preserves, and orbiting space stations, the spirit of competition and cooperation was taking hold. "Look at that," Coach Eriksson breathed, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's like the whole galaxy's become one big sports league." Aisha nodded, a mix of pride and caution in her voice. "It's incredible, isn't it? But we need to be careful. With this level of cultural exchange comes responsibility. We need to ensure that these sports remain a force for unity and understanding, not a source of conflict or domination." As the delegates continued to discuss and debate, a message flashed across the holographic display. The Galactic Council, the highest governing body in known space, had called for an emergency session. The agenda: to discuss the unprecedented spread of interspecies sports and its potential impact on galactic society. Aisha, Coach Erickson, and Zaxlor exchanged glances. They knew that what had started as a simple demonstration of human athletics had grown into something far beyond their control. The next few days would be crucial in determining the future of not just sports, but interspecies relations across the galaxy. As the announcement sank in, a hush fell over the gathered delegates. The excitement of the past few days was tempered by the realization that they stood at a crossroads in galactic history. The decisions made in the coming council session would shape the future of their civilizations for generations to come. Aisha took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Well," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment, "it looks like we're about to enter a whole new ball game." Coach Erickson chuckled at the pun, but his eyes were serious. "Whatever happens, Doc, we've started something big here, something important." Zaxlor's scales shimmered with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Indeed we have, my friends. The question now is, where will it lead us?" As the delegates began to disperse, preparing for the upcoming council session, the air in the cosmic coliseum was charged with anticipation. The games continued in the background, a testament to the unifying power of sport. But now, with the eyes of the galaxy upon them, the true test was about to begin. The rise of interspecies sports had opened doors and broken down barriers. Now, it was time to see if the spirit of cooperation and friendly competition could withstand the scrutiny of galactic politics. The next chapter in this unprecedented story was about to unfold, and its outcome would resonate across the stars. Unexpected consequences and revelations. The Galactic Council chamber was a marvel of engineering, a vast amphitheater suspended in space, its transparent walls offering a breathtaking view of the surrounding cosmos. Today, it was filled to capacity with representatives from every known sentient species in the galaxy. The air crackled with tension and anticipation as the emergency session on the spread of interspecies sports was called to order. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo sat in the human delegation's booth, flanked by Coach Gunnar Erickson and a team of Earth's top xenobiologists and cultural experts. Across the chamber, she could see Zaxlor, his iridescent scales shimmering as he prepared to broadcast the proceedings to trillions of beings across the galaxy. The chief counselor, a Cerebrax named Stylos, floated to the center of the chamber. Its massive brain pulsed with neural activity as it addressed the gathering. "Esteemed delegates," Stylos began, its thoughts resonating in the minds of all present, "we are gathered here to address the unprecedented phenomenon of interspecies sports. What began as a simple cultural exchange has grown into a movement that threatens to reshape galactic society as we know it." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Stylos continued, "We have reports from thousands of worlds. Traditional social structures are being disrupted. Long-standing alliances are shifting. And perhaps most alarmingly, we are seeing a surge in interspecies travel and migration as beings seek to participate in these new sporting events." The Synthesian representative, a gleaming artificial being named Prime, spoke up, his disruption necessarily a negative outcome. "Our analysis suggests that these sports are fostering unprecedented levels of cooperation and understanding between species." "At what cost?" countered a silicoid delegate, its crystalline form refracting light as it spoke. "We are seeing young silicoids abandon their traditional role in our planet's silicon cycle to pursue these alien games. The ecological balance of our world is at risk." Similar concerns were echoed by other species. The Nebulons reported that some of their kind were attempting to condense into more solid forms to participate in physical sports, potentially losing their gaseous nature. The Arachnoids spoke of a rise in injuries as their youth attempted increasingly daring parkour stunts. As the debate raged, Aisha leaned over to Coach Erickson. "This is getting out of hand," she whispered. We never intended for this to cause such upheaval. Erickson nodded grimly. Sports have always had the power to change societies, Doc. We just never imagined it happening on a galactic scale. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the chamber. The holographic display at the center of the room flickered to life, showing a star system on the outer rim of the galaxy. Xylos's mental voice cut through the chaos. We have an emergency situation. The Corax, a warlike species we've been in conflict with for centuries, have crossed the neutral zone. They're on a direct course for populated worlds. The chamber erupted in panic. The Corax were known for their ruthless efficiency in combat, their biomechanical bodies honed for warfare. No single species had ever been able to stand against them. But then, something unexpected happened. The holographic display zoomed in on the Corax fleet, showing not a formation of warships, but a motley assortment of vessels of all shapes and sizes. A transmission cut through the confusion. The face of the Corax Imperator, a being more machine than organic, appeared on screen. But instead of the usual war mask, the Imperator wore what appeared to be a referee's whistle. "Greetings, Galactic Council." The Imperator's metallic voice rang out. "We come not for war, but to petition for entry into your Galactic Olympics. We have been monitoring your transmissions, and we find these sports intriguing. We wish to participate." A stunned silence fell over the chamber. Aisha and Coach Erickson exchanged incredulous looks. The Cerebrac's chief counselor was the first to recover. "Imperator," it thought spoke cautiously, "your species has been isolated for millennia. Why this sudden interest in peaceful interaction?" The Corax Imperator's mechanical eyes wared as they focused. "For eons, we have honed our bodies and minds for combat, seeking the ultimate challenge. But in these sports of yours, we see potential for competition without destruction, for testing our limits without loss of life. It is an appealing concept." As the implications of this sank in, excited murmurs began to ripple through the council chamber. Species that had been at each other's throats moments ago were now discussing the potential of including the Corax in their sporting events. Aisha stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Honored counselors, esteemed Imperator, I believe we're witnessing something extraordinary here. These sports, which we feared might be tearing us apart, might actually be the key to bringing our galaxy together." She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed scenes from various worlds where interspecies sports were taking place. "Yes, there have been disruptions. Yes, there are challenges to overcome. But look at what we've gained. We're seeing cooperation on an unprecedented scale. Species that could never communicate before are now working together, understanding each other in ways we never thought possible." Coach Erickson joined her, his gruff voice filled with passion. "In all my years of coaching, I've seen how sports can bridge divides, heal conflicts. It's not just about the game. It's about learning to work together, to respect each other's strengths and help with each other's weaknesses. If it can work for rival teams on Earth, why not for rival species in the galaxy?" The chamber was silent as the delegates absorbed these words. Then, slowly, a new mood began to take hold. Species that had been arguing moments ago were now turning to each other, discussing possibilities. The silicoids and nebulons were already sketching out ideas for sports that could accommodate both crystalline and gaseous beings. Zaxlor, who had been broadcasting the entire proceeding, floated over to Aisha and Erickson. "This is remarkable," he whistled softly. "We came here fearing the end of this movement, and instead, we may be witnessing its true beginning." As the council session continued, now with a tone of cautious optimism, plans began to take shape. The Galactic Olympics would be expanded, with new events designed to include as many species as possible. The Corax would be welcomed, their martial skills finding a new, peaceful outlet in athletic competition. But perhaps most importantly, a new understanding was dawning. These sports were more than just games. They were a new form of diplomacy, a way to build bridges between the most disparate of species. As the session drew to a close, Aisha found herself standing before the council, delivering a final address. "We stand at a crossroads," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber and beyond, to the trillions watching across the galaxy. "We can view these changes as a threat to our established ways, or we can embrace them as an opportunity for growth, for understanding, for peace. The choice is ours." As cheers erupted throughout the chamber, Aisha, Coach Erickson, and Zaxlor shared a look of wonder and hope. They had come to the Galactic Olympics to showcase human sports. Instead, they had helped spark a revolution that promised to reshape the very fabric of galactic society. As the council session adjourned and delegates began to file out, already discussing plans for new interspecies sporting events, Aisha couldn't help but smile. "You know," she said to her companions, "I think this might be the greatest game humanity has ever played." Coach Erickson chuckled, shaking his head in amazement. "And to think, it all started with a simple game of parkour." Zaxlor's scales shimmered with excitement. "My friends, I believe we're witnessing the dawn of a new era in galactic history, and it's all thanks to the unifying power of sports." As they left the council chamber, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The galaxy was changing, and at its heart was a simple truth that transcended species and star systems alike: the joy of playing together. A new era of galactic cooperation. 5 years had passed since the fateful Galactic Council session that had changed the course of interstellar relations. The Cosmic Coliseum, once a simple venue for the Galactic Olympics, had evolved into a sprawling complex of stadiums, training facilities, and cultural exchange centers. Today, it was abuzz with activity as delegates from across the galaxy gathered for the opening ceremony of the 1005th Galactic Olympics. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo stood at the entrance of the main arena, marveling at how much had changed. Beside her, Coach Gunnar Erickson whistled in appreciation. "Would you look at that?" he said, gesturing to the crowds filing in. 5 years ago, we were lucky if 2 different species could agree on the rules of a game. Now look at us." Aisha nodded, her eyes shining with pride. "It's amazing, isn't it? We've come so far in such a short time." A familiar shimmer announced the arrival of Zaxlor, his scales now adorned with the insignia of the Galactic Sports Federation, an organization he had helped found. "Ah, my friends," Zaxlor greeted them warmly. "Ready for the big show?" As they made their way to their seats, Aisha marveled at the diversity of the crowd. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions mingled freely, chattering excitedly about the upcoming events. In one section, a group of silicoids were engaged in an animated discussion with some nebulans, their crystalline forms refracting light as they gestured to their gaseous companions. Nearby, a team of Corax athletes was warming up, their biomechanical bodies moving with fluid grace. Who would have thought that the once feared warriors would become some of the galaxy's most enthusiastic sports enthusiasts? As they took their seats, the lights dimmed and a hush fell over the stadium. A holographic display flickered to life, filling the air above the central arena. It showed scenes from across the galaxy, worlds that had once been bitter enemies, now united in friendly competition. The voice of the chief counselor, Xylos, resonated through the minds of all present. Honored delegates, esteemed athletes, citizens of the galaxy, welcome to the 1005th Galactic Olympics. Cheers erupted from every corner of the stadium as Tylos continued. 5 years ago, we stood at a crossroads. The rapid spread of interspecies sports had caused upheaval and concern. But today, we gather to celebrate how these shared activities have brought us closer together than ever before. The holographic display shifted, showing footage from the past 5 years. There were scenes of arachnoids and lepidopterans collaborating on new forms of aerial acrobatics, proteans, and silicoids, creating hybrid sports that challenged the very concept of physical form, and humans working alongside a myriad of alien species to develop games that could be played across wildly different environments. Through sports, Xylos spoke, We have learned to appreciate our differences and celebrate our commonalities. We have found new ways to communicate, to cooperate, and to peacefully compete. Today, we are not just individual species, but a galactic community united in the spirit of fair play and mutual respect. As Silos spoke, a procession of athletes began to enter the arena. Unlike previous Olympics, where each species had marched separately, this time they came in mixed groups, organized by the sports they played rather than their planet of origin. Aisha leaned over to Coach Erickson, her voice filled with wonder. "Look at that, Coach." Corax marching alongside cetaceans, synthesians paired with organic life forms. Who would have imagined this 5 years ago? Erickson nodded, a gruff smile on his face. Sports have always had the power to bring people together, Doc. We just needed to think bigger, galaxy-sized, you might say. Zaxlor chimed in, his scales shimmering with excitement. And it goes beyond just the games. The technological and cultural exchange, sparked by these sports, has led to advancements in medicine, environmental protection, and even faster than light travel. We're entering a golden age of galactic cooperation. As if to illustrate his point, the holographic display showed images of recent achievements. A Corax human joint mission to terraform a previously uninhabitable planet, a Nebulon Silicoid collaborative project to clean up space debris, and a galaxy-wide education initiative that used sports as a framework for teaching interspecies cooperation and understanding. The procession of athletes continued, each group demonstrating snippets of their sports. There were zero-gravity acrobats, aquatic relay teams, and even a demonstration of quantum entanglement chess, a mind-bending game developed by a collaboration of Cerebrax and Synthesian intellects. As the ceremony reached its climax, a group of athletes from various species stepped forward, each carrying a portion of the Olympic flame. In a beautifully choreographed sequence, they came together, combining their flames into a dazzling display of unity that lit up the entire stadium. Aisha felt tears welling up in her eyes as she watched. "You know," she said softly to her companions, "when we first demonstrated parkour and ice hockey at the Olympics 5 years ago, I never dreamed it would lead to this. We set out to showcase human sports, but we ended up changing the galaxy." Coach Erickson patted her shoulder, his own eyes suspiciously moist. "That's the beauty of sports, Doc. It's never just about the game. It's about bringing out the best in each other, about pushing boundaries and overcoming challenges together." Zaxlor's voice was filled with emotion as he added, "And in doing so, we've discovered that despite our different forms, different biologies, different ways of thinking, we're all united by the same fundamental desires: to strive, to achieve, to belong." As the opening ceremony concluded, and the crowd rose to its feet in a thunderous ovation, Aisha, Coach Erickson, and Zaxlor shared a look of profound satisfaction. They had witnessed the birth of a new era in galactic history, one where the spirit of sportsmanship had transcended physical and cultural boundaries to unite beings across the cosmos. The games were about to begin, but in many ways, the most important victory had already been won. Through the universal language of sports, the galaxy had found a way to come together, to celebrate both their diversity and their shared spirit of competition and cooperation. As the first events of the 1005th Galactic Olympics got underway, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter. A new chapter in the story of the universe had begun, written not in the language of war or politics, but in the universal tongue of fair play, mutual respect, and the joy of the game. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that had started with a parkour demonstration and a game of ice hockey. No matter how different we may seem, we can always find common ground in the spirit of sports. The greatest game ever played was the one that united a galaxy, and it was only just beginning.